After the Psalm of Moses, Psalm 9 is one of the earliest psalms written. It's a psalm of David that was written after his well-known victory over Goliath, which is recorded in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 17. The battle took place around 11th century BC in Judah during the reign of King Saul. The Philistine army had gathered near the valley of Elah and sent forth mighty Goliath, who had challenged the Israelites to send a warrior to fight him. If Goliath was defeated and killed, the Philistines would become the Israelites' servants, but the same would happen to Israel if Goliath killed the Israelite warrior. Goliath presented himself on the battleground for 40 days, but no one in the Israelite army was brave enough or strong enough to battle Goliath, and this is where David comes in. David was the youngest of the 8 sons of Jesse, and he looked after his father's sheep. So it was no surprise that King Saul was baffled when David offered to face the giant. Israel's freedom was at stake after all, and there would be no second chances. But while David may not have been a warrior, he was not weak either. He told King Saul of the times he had fought and killed lions and bears when he looked after his father's sheep. King Saul reluctantly agreed and had David put on an armor, which David declined because the armor was too heavy and restrictive. He wasn't afraid to face Goliath without an armor because he knew that as long as he was on God's side, he didn't need to depend on any safety that man could offer. What happened next is no mystery. David defeated Goliath with a slingshot. This incident is what inspired David to write what we know now as Psalm 9. David begins by praising God for all his marvelous works. David never takes any credit for Goliath's defeat despite gaining recognition from the people because he knows his victory came from God alone. He gives thanks and exalts God for delivering the Israelites out of the hands of a formidable nation. He then addresses the enemies and talks of God's righteous judgment and speaks of the destruction of the wicked. He writes of how God never forsakes those who seek him. David concludes the psalm by writing that the nations be judged in God's sight, so that the wicked know that they are also merely men and that they cannot prevail against God. This psalm is a reminder for us when we see the innocent suffer, or when we are in the face of trouble and it feels like there's no way out. Even when it seems like the wicked are thriving despite their evil deeds, God delivers those who seek him.